Okay. So hi guys, welcome. This is Tiffany Spencer. She is the Executive Director for HBCUForce and the COO of, and you just told me the name, Esor.
Esor. Mhm.
Esor. I'm really appreciative of her giving the presentation today concerning Salesforce. I sent out an email earlier that Salesforce is planning on wrapping up their ecosystem. And a lot of the positions are remote or semi-remote. So it would be a great opportunity for you to actually get started and get certified in Salesforce. So without further ado, I'll let Tiffany take it over.
Hello, and I do have a presentation.
Yes, I shared the screen.
Give me a second while I bring it over to the right monitor.
It's a multiple participations.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. And please make sure if you have any questions to put them into the chat or feel free to, raise your hand or come off mute. Because I definitely don't want to just talk at you, but I would love for this to be more collaborative. So I'll keep talking until you all have some questions. So I'm Tiffany Spencer. I am the COO of Esor Consulting Group and the founder of an organization called a nonprofit called HBCUForce. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for over 13 years. I have 7 certifications. I am a Salesforce MVP, a user group leader, a Salesforce.org Impact Fellow, and a what they call a platform champion. So the Salesforce ecosystem has a number of different programs. They're very, very active ecosystem, and I am clearly very involved at the moment. I have more than a decade of leading transformations for organizations utilizing Salesforce, like I said, for over 13 years, and this has been across a variety of industries. Um, I started off in the Salesforce ecosystem working for a small land development company. I went on to work for a global 3D imaging and manufacturing, a company that builds and manufactures 3D imaging equipment. I've worked for Red Hat, I've worked for SunTrust, I've worked for large global implementation partners in which we worked on projects for companies like Honeywell and US Bank. Um, and so being part of the Salesforce ecosystem has definitely taken me to companies and places that I did not even, envision when I first started my tech career. I'm currently no longer the president, but the program director and board chair for Black Orlando Tech. I'm also a mentor with the organization called the Greatest Investment Girls Empowerment Program, and I'm a proud graduate of the University. So why the cloud? Cloud computing services are in demand, especially with the pandemic. All of a sudden, everyone needed to go remote.
I'm
And
sorry, Tiffany, we're not really seeing your presentation.
oh, what do you think?
I see examples of employers with Salesforce accounting.
Can you see this screen?
Yes, see that one.
Okay,
Thank you.
sorry. So we're talking about cloud computing, and I don't know, is this something you've covered before as far as the industry in cloud computing?
No, this is the first time we're going over cloud computing.
Okay, so cloud computing as an industry is in demand, and occupations and organizations that leverage cloud applications, cloud infrastructure are going to increase. They've already increased. I mean, I don't even know if the numbers are out as far as the number of organizations that have increased their digital transformation or accelerated their internal digital transformations since the pandemic started. Some examples of cloud computing would be infrastructure as a service. So companies that are using AWS, Microsoft Azure. There is the platform as a service, which is platforms like Heroku or Force.com and OpenShift. And then you have the SaaS or software as a service space, which is where Salesforce lies, Zendesk, Google Apps, HubSpot, a number of those careers. And so specifically when you talk about Salesforce and why I'm talking to you about Salesforce, these are older numbers, but it's projected that there will be 3.3 million new jobs in the Salesforce ecosystem by next year. And the GDP impact of the Salesforce ecosystem is $859 billion. So I know a number of individuals are just starting to learn about Salesforce. This is a huge market. It's by no means small. There will be 10 million trailblazers, which is what they call individuals, Salesforce professionals, or those that are learning by next year. And those individuals that use Salesforce's online training platform, Trailhead, 1 of 4 of those users will have found a job by 2022. So a few other things about Salesforce. 1, 97 of the Fortune 100 companies use Salesforce. There's a very good chance that any company that you know of, can see or drive by, utilizes Salesforce in some way in their organizations. There are not only Salesforce customers, but partners in their partner ecosystem that are creating these jobs. On average, jobs with Salesforce skills pay more than $70,000. And for a number of years, some of the top jobs in technology are Salesforce specific or adjacent. And so these are some of the brands that you may be familiar with that currently utilize Salesforce. And like I said, they utilize them in a number of different ways, which I'll get into later. So my organization, HBCUForce, is a nonprofit that partners with HBCUs and other minority serving institutions and organizations to implement programs that provide early access to cloud computing careers. So what I presented to you is the same thing. I go to HBCUs and work with other nonprofit organizations and education institutions to make sure that those students and participants are getting access and are aware of the careers that are available to them. And our goal is to create a more diverse and inclusive tech workforce. We take individuals through a journey where we help to expose them to Salesforce utilizing Trailhead. We assist individuals with getting their certification. Once they are certified, we help them to find an internship. One of the ways that we help participants gain experience is by having them intern with my company, Esor, and HBCUForce also has connections across the Salesforce ecosystem. So we work hand in hand with the participants to make sure that they get experience to put on your resume, because as we all know, experience is very helpful when you're looking for a new job. And so all of this, the end goal is to help individuals to actually transition successfully from learning all the way to getting that first job, which I have lots of examples of that I can tell you about. So I have a student that he's graduating. He's a new graduate. He started working with me as a sophomore. He just took a position with a large Salesforce partner. Fresh out of college, he'll be making over $60,000 in that role. I helped a lady, she's a career transitioner. She worked in the legal area for a number of years. She recently started with a Salesforce partner, was able to double her salary. And so this is the power of gaining this certification, going through the steps of getting experience, getting certified, and then the process of following the steps that I outline in order to get a position. Are there any questions so far? Okay, I'll keep going. So the next thing I want to touch on is just one, exactly what is Salesforce? What are the products and industry solutions? What are the career paths and what do you need to do to get started? So Salesforce is a customer relationship management solution that brings together companies and customers together. So I know that when you hear Salesforce, most people immediately think sales, but it's really not just sales. Salesforce is used across all of the departments, can be used across all departments in a company. That includes marketing, sales, service, e-commerce, marketing, anything that you can think of when you want to, if you think about a customer and all of the different pieces of data or things that you may want to know about your customer or your internal business processes that um, that need to happen in order to service a customer, all of those pieces of data and processes can be mapped out and automated utilizing Salesforce or Salesforce products or integrations between Salesforce and another system. So I like to show this slide because it gives you the first level kind of overview of Salesforce. So at the top part, that's sales. So that's the part where you're managing your leads, your customers, the relationship with your customers, your sales process. After that person is a customer, then there's the whole servicing of that customer. So if you think about support cases and any trouble tickets or incidents, there's a feature inside of Salesforce to manage that. Then we talk about marketing. And so this is email marketing, landing pages, social media, text messaging, A&B testing, all of those features. Salesforce has 2 or more products that that cover that. This little shopping cart here is for e-commerce. There's a product that Salesforce has specifically for e-commerce. Salesforce has an app store and as well as Heroku, where you can build a external facing app on the platform. Tableau, if you're familiar with Tableau, Salesforce actually owns Tableau. And so if you're interested in data analytics, if you're interested in AI, between Tableau and Einstein, there's a product there in the adjacent career path. This little thing here is for their integration tool called MuleSoft. So other backend systems like SAP, any ERPs, any HR systems, any transactional systems can talk to Salesforce utilizing MuleSoft. So if you think about any API calls, any integrations between backend systems, that's what that tool is for. I'm going to skip these 2 and come back to them. Industries, I'm going to talk about next. And then this relates to some of the portal tools and success tools that Salesforce has available for their customers. So this slide is for industries. So again, it's not just about sales. It's also not just about quote unquote sales organizations. Salesforce actually has solutions for various industries. So with banking, there's a solution for financial services called Financial Services Cloud. There's a government cloud. There's a health cloud. There's nonprofit cloud. There's a manufacturing cloud. There's a communications cloud. There's an insurance cloud. And so no matter what industry you may be interested in, learning Salesforce can make you competitive for position within these industries. It's mind-blowing if you think about it. And again, most people don't know. I remember when I was in school, Microsoft was the thing to learn. And so understanding, having Microsoft skills and saying that you understood Microsoft Office was a big deal. And I tell individuals all the time, if you do a search just for Salesforce and Indeed or LinkedIn, you're going to see a variety of jobs come up. They're not all Salesforce consultant jobs. They're not all Salesforce administrator jobs. Some of these jobs are sales, service, and anything in between, but they utilize Salesforce in that role. And so that makes individuals competitive when you understand the CRM and specifically when you have experience with Salesforce. This is some of the average salaries for different positions within the Salesforce ecosystem. And so we're going to talk about career paths a little bit later. There's the Salesforce administrator career path. that average salary is about 95,000. That is not an entry level salary. An entry level salary could be 50 to 60 or 50, yeah, 50 to 60. But I would say after a few years, and it depends on the industry and the state you're in, but that's about an average salary that just a Salesforce administrator, which is an entry level role, that's what that average salary would be. The developer path is, so the administrator is more of, you don't have to code. So it's more understanding how to configure the system through clicks, not code. That's the administrator. The developer is more of, if you like coding, you're familiar with Java or some other coding language. Salesforce has their own coding language called Apex. And so this path would be extending Salesforce, leveraging their platform and their programming language. The technical architect path is a more advanced path from the developer, so that would be further down the line. A business analyst is also a good entry-level role. There are a number of companies and consulting companies that look for Salesforce business analysts. And so that is a good marriage of being familiar with Salesforce and being familiar with the BA methodologies. Same thing here, there's a such thing as a Salesforce project manager. Sales manager is, again, it's not a back-end role, it's more of a super user role. So there's a number of sales managers or sales positions that if you know how to leverage a CRM, if you're familiar with Salesforce, makes you competitive for this type of role. In that type of role, this is the average salary that they see. And then there's the marketing manager role. There are a number of companies that utilize Salesforce for their marketing solutions. And this is kind of what I just reviewed. So these are some of the different career paths. There's, as an entry-level role, you have the admin path, the BA path, a consultant path, sales career path, marketing. And so a lot of times when people get started with Salesforce, they don't know where to start or how to maybe strategize on, okay, there's a number of certifications. There are a number of career paths. Where do I start? So here's where I help. Here's one thing to think about when you're starting down this path. One is, where are the jobs? So we talked about earlier the Salesforce ecosystem. And so what that means is, if you think about learning Salesforce, okay, if I have Salesforce skills on my resume, where does that make me competitive? So one is Salesforce, the company. That is very competitive to get in Salesforce, the actual company, but that is a career path. The second place to look for jobs would be Salesforce customers. So that is the slide I showed you earlier with those different brands, those different Fortune 100 companies. There are customers that buy Salesforce solutions to use internally. They normally have teams internally, one or more, depending on the size, that maintain and manage their Salesforce org. If a customer does not have an internal team, or they have more projects and they have resources, then they will use a consulting partner. So when you, as a customer, when you purchase Salesforce, they do not set it up for you. I mean, they can, but it's expensive. And so there's a partner ecosystem, like my company Esor and like the companies listed here, that actually will work with companies to implement Salesforce for them or implement some other type of enhancement or upgrade or new project for those companies. And so they are always hiring consultants to work on the Salesforce platform. Salesforce has its own app store. And a little fun trivia fact is that the app store, like the Apple App Store, that name was actually Salesforce's first. And he actually sold that or gave that to Apple so that they could use the name App Store. And Salesforce named their App Store the App Exchange. So there are companies and individuals that build apps on the Salesforce platform so that their apps can extend the functionality of Salesforce. So for example, Salesforce does not do electronic signatures. So if you want to send out a contract and you want to have someone e-sign it, You go to the App Store, you can use Adobe Sign, you can use DocuSign. Those companies have a plugin that works with Salesforce. And so those companies have internal roles that work on a Salesforce platform that support customers, Salesforce customers that have installed their app. And so that is another career, a place where you can find jobs. And then the last place is what we call independent consultants. So if you think about these customers, there are some customers that maybe don't want to hire an Accenture or an IBM to do work for them. And they also don't have an internal team to maybe manage their Salesforce org. And so they will hire an independent consultant to come in and do work for them. I did independent consulting for a number of years, and I know a lot of independent consultants. And so they both work for customers or they work as contractors for some of the larger consulting partners that maybe these individuals don't want to come on as W-2 employees. And so they just say, hey, I'll work on a project here or there for you. And so that is also a path there. Are there any questions? Okay.
I don't have any questions, but I do want to say that several people have been laid off that I know, and they're texting me right now. They were able to jump on the call, so it's a good thing I'm recording. But actually knowing where they can fit into the ecosystem is very helpful, because they were asking me, once they go through the certification and training process, what path should they take to actually get into the ecosystem. So this is very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So when I'm coaching individuals on how to start, so how do you go from, once you've made the decision that you want to learn Salesforce, what do you do next? And this is as best as I could do it, I put this slide together to kind of walk through that. So if I'm working with a college student or a new graduate, I would normally tell them, okay, you should start either to get your Salesforce admin certification, your dev certification, or marketing certification. I would add to this now the data analytics certification. So Salesforce admin is the most general that people start with. You have to have your admin certification before you can get a consultant level certification. And so that is much more competitive in the admin field. Usually as an admin, companies want you to have some level of experience. The second option would be the dev cert. So developers are definitely high in demand. I think that I see more junior developer positions, or companies might be a little bit more flexible on the experience with developers because it's a little bit more specialized in the admin. And then when you get into marketing and data analytics, I think that is also true. Those are considered more specialty type certifications that are more in demand than just the admin. With the admin, you do have to, it takes a little bit more digging and a little bit more strategy to land that first career path as the ecosystem grows. So after they get certified, then again, it would be get some experience, find an internship, get an entry level position. So that's the college student or new grad path. As an experienced professional, what I coach people to do is to let's explore options based on your previous industry or your previous experience. So for example, if you've worked in healthcare and now you're adding Salesforce, okay, well, let's merge that together and say, let's look at healthcare companies that utilize Salesforce. You would be a perfect fit there because you already know the industry and now you know Salesforce. And so although you're maybe newer at Salesforce, you're not new in the industry, and companies like that because sometimes the biggest thing for them is making sure that somebody understands their industry. And they may feel more comfortable with you as an individual, even though you don't have that much Salesforce experience. And a lot of things I see people do when they are in interviews that makes them not get the job is they focus too much on being new to Salesforce and not enough on their current experience in that industry or in a specific role. I worked with a lady who had many, many years of experience in the education industry. She worked for the school board or um, for a number of years or inside the school system. And so when she transitioned into a tech role, she found a role with a education, an ed tech company that utilized Salesforce. So although she was new to Salesforce, she was a perfect fit for that position because she understood the industry. She had the experience that they were looking for. And she had worked enough with me to get enough experience to make them feel comfortable about her Salesforce knowledge. And so there was no competition there as far as that role and her looking and presenting herself as a good fit for that role. And so once you've explored those options, you want to get your certification, get hands-on experience, start to apply for jobs. If you're transitioning, um, so maybe you weren't in a career type path, maybe you're coming from, customer support or out of retail. What I would say there is to pick a specialty. So pick something like data analytics or pick one of these Salesforce products and go down the path to get certified and get experience there. Because then it's not so much worried about your background. You can call out the soft skills that you learned and leverage that. But it's more of, look, I taught myself this specialty skill and certification. And because those are more in demand, they would overlook maybe some non-career professional experience in order to bring you on. And that's not uncommon in this space. Your question says, what track would you suggest for the BA path? So for the BA path, you want to start with the Salesforce admin and then probably pick a consultant level certification. I think I have the certifications here. This is not all of the certifications. This is all of the ones when I took the screenshot. There are more certifications at this point. So I would suggest taking for a BA, I would take the admin cert because that's one of the entry level paths. And then I would take a consultant level certification based on the industry that you want to go into. And then I would also look into some agile certifications or get experience with writing user stories or writing business requirements and going through some of the material that's on the IIBA site or one of the agile certification paths. Because a lot of companies, when they interview BAs, they like for you to either be familiar with Agile or Scrum or have some experience with business requirements. They also like for you to be familiar with something like Jira or another Agile type platform.
So if an individual is transitioning from another career, what would be the quickest path to getting employed using Salesforce right now?
So if they are an experienced professional, right? They've been in HR for a number of years or accounting for a number of years, right? If you have a solid background in a specific industry, right? I consider that an experienced professional versus just transitioning. To me, transitioning is you don't have a specialty. You don't have an industry you've worked in. You've kind of had jobs here or there. If you're an experienced professional with experience in the industry, then I would explore options with that industry in Salesforce. So I would look to see it's either an admin path where you can say, I'm learning Salesforce, and then you look to see what kind of roles that specific company has, that industry. So in Orlando, if you're in the healthcare industry, at a lot of the hospitals here use Salesforce. And so I would look up those companies and put in Salesforce and see what positions come up, and then start to create a path based off of that. So it kind of depends on the industry. The other option is to look at consulting companies that have a specialty in that industry. So there are some consulting partners that specialize in specific industries, or places like Accenture that have a healthcare team, they'll have a banking team, they'll have a life sciences team. And so that makes you valuable there, where you would get your admin cert, get your consulting cert, and then those two certifications with your industry experience make you competitive for those type of positions. So I don't have a straight answer there, but it's more of coming up with a strategy based off of the individual.
That's fine. Someone just texted me asking that because they're trying to transition, and they don't really have any skilled knowledge. So they used to work in retail.
Yep. And so for that, I would definitely go down the specialty path, where you either get your admin cert first and then go down the specialty path, or you start off with the specialty path like data analytics or CPQ or marketing. It depends on what they're really interested in. But having one of the more advanced certifications would make them more competitive. So just in general, if we talk about the admin path, which is the most common place where people start, these are some of the other skills that admins have. So outside of just the Salesforce skills, admins should still have some sort of business analysis skills. That's because if you think about what the role is, if you are the person that is making the changes to Salesforce behind the scenes, so I'm a user, I have a question, I want, a new report built, or I would like a new field added, or I want the page layout changed. Well, you have to ask the right questions to make sure that you're making the right changes. So that requires some analysis skills. Then the leadership skills. So as an admin, the ability to do research, to speak up, to plan, to lead, their leadership skills that you need in this admin role. The technical skills. So it's good for you to understand Excel, to understand databases, to understand formulas. So there are some technical skills that are definitely helpful in this role. There are project management skills, because you would need to manage the changes and the requests that you're getting, and also be able to communicate the time that it's going to take to do a thing. So to say, I received a request to make this change. I have 2 other things on my plate first. And this change is going to take me 4 hours. And so it looks like I can get this to you next week, right? And so there's some level of project management skills that are helpful for this role. And then, of course, again, industry skills. So understanding an industry or having the ability to research and learn the industry is helpful to make sure that you're communicating with the users in their language. And so ways to learn Salesforce. So, okay, we went through all of that, looks good. I kind of know what I need to do. How do I actually go about learning? So Salesforce has an online training platform called Trailhead. The website is trailhead.salesforce.com. On that site, you sign up, it's free, and there are a number of there's a lot of badges and trails to follow to learn a lot of different skills. And so there are guided paths for a career path or certification path. There are hands-on projects, and there are different what they call super badges, which are like use cases that actually take you through a really good, almost real world exercise so that you can learn Salesforce. So here is a screenshot from my Trailhead profile. So there's a couple different things that this is useful for. One is that this gives you like a digital resume. So you can create your own customized link here. This is mine. So if you type this into your browser, it will take you to my Trailblazer profile. And when you're on my Trailblazer profile, if I'm looking for a job, there's a few things that you can learn about me. One is you can see that I'm very active in learning on Trailhead. I have 182 badges. Once you get to 100 badges, you're considered a ranger. So companies that are really familiar with Salesforce and have a Salesforce team, they know they'll put in the job description sometime. Like I'm only looking for people in this role who are an expeditioner and above. That's 50 badges. They say that because, again, Salesforce is always changing. So this is a journey where you're always learning. And so some companies know that, and they want to make sure that you are comfortable with this learning journey and path that you're going to be on. So you can see my number of badges, the points I've earned, and the number of trails that I've completed. And so you can clearly see from mine, I don't go through trails. I do a lot of different badges. The second thing that you can see are my certifications. And so my certifications, you can link them to your profile as you earn them. There is a site where employers can go to verify your certifications. And then below this, which I didn't include, is you can see the breakdown of the badges and the skills that you've learned. So later, if you want, I'll pull up Trailhead and we can look through that. The other thing on Trailhead is there are a number of links, videos. There's a ton of content out there. It takes you through career paths. It takes you through what trails you should do, what learning path you should take based off of that career path. It tells you all the certifications. It tells you what trails to complete, what modules to complete based off of that certification. So it's very, very useful. The other thing you can get to on the Trailblazer community from Trailhead is you can get to what's called the Trailblazer community. And so this is where you can connect with other Salesforce professionals. So there's Salesforce MVPs. There are community groups in every major city, just about. There are not any more student groups. If you are former military or current military or spouse of someone that was in the military, there's a program called Trailhead Military. It's no longer called VetForce, where you can sign up for training and free certifications. There are women in technology groups. You can connect with and find SIs, which are Salesforce implementation partners, or ISVs, which are those companies that build apps for Salesforce. You can find them in the Trailblazer community. And then you can find other technology groups and specialty groups inside of the Trailblazer community. Looking at the question. So there's no charge for the super badges. Depending on the super badge that you're doing, you may need to, I'll show you that in a second. When I go to Trailhead, I'll answer that question. Okay, so what can you do today? So if you're interested in starting on your Salesforce journey, one, you can go to HBCUForce.org. And if you go to our blog, there is a blog post about how to get started in the Salesforce ecosystem. So I have a whole blog post that goes over this information with all the links and everything in detail. So you can go there and do that. If you follow me on social media or follow HBCUForce, then we will be doing an 8-week challenge where we're helping people to learn Salesforce and get certified in 8 weeks. It is very aggressive. So it's about 1 hour to 2 hours of content a day. But if you're like, I want to get started, I want to get this done, you can join us. We'll be, giving away vouchers and, it's almost like a guided support group. And so we'll be doing that over the summer. I definitely recommend that you create a Trailhead account. Salesforce ecosystem, they're very, very active on Twitter, extremely active. And so if you're thinking about networking and meeting people and just kind of jumping in, I would definitely go on there and start to follow some Salesforce people, and it'll go down a path. So you'll find them all, and you'll find all the active people. I also recommend that you join a local community group. So if you go to Trailhead, You could look up the Trailblazer communities, or you can go to this website and see where the closest community group is to you. Salesforce, there's a Salesforce admin website, there's a Salesforce developer website, there's websites and blogs everywhere. So just Google and you'll find all of them. And the other thing is make sure you update your LinkedIn as you're learning. The badges, it gives you the option as you earn them to add them to LinkedIn. You should definitely do that. You should definitely add that you're learning Salesforce on your LinkedIn. And you should definitely network. We've had a number of individuals that have gotten jobs from going to user groups, from being active on social media. And so definitely this is the Salesforce. Salesforce professionals are very collaborative. They're very helpful. So there's not a shortage of where you can go for assistance. There are a few, if you are not as comfortable with self-guided or you want a little bit more structure, on Udemy, Mike Wheeler has courses that a lot of people like. Focus on Force is another site that people use and like. You should definitely download the certification guide for the certification that you're interested in. So on the Trailhead site, if you go to certifications, which I'll show you here in a second, it will take you to the details for that certification, and you can look at what's called the certification guide. That is important because it gives you the breakdown on exactly what's on the certification. There are a number of blogs, so Salesforce Ben, Brainiate, Salesforce SFDC 99, simply SFDC. Like I said, depending on what you're interested in, there's not a shortage of material. So the blogs are really, really helpful. Once you find a blog, then you can find that person's Twitter and definitely follow them. And then if you're looking for any salary information, Mason Frank is a good place. They put out a salary survey. And again, on this different sites and different blogs, you'll find plenty of salary information. So that is it for me. I will pull up Trailhead. And while I'm doing that, if anybody has any questions, I can answer those. I see Deetra. Hi, Deetra. If you're talking, you're on mute. She must be multitasking. So Deetra works with Esor, and she can tell you about her transition to Salesforce if she comes off, if she ever comes back to her computer. I'm going to Trailhead for 1 second.
So while you're pulling that up, any idea when you're planning on starting the group for the summer? Because we'd like to get in on that.
Yeah, the 8-week cohort.
Yes.
I will have our program coordinator send you the date. So we're going to pull out a sign up form here shortly. So remind me and we can get you the dates.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Tiffany. Thank you for some great information. I did have one more question. So I wanted to ask, so do you do this, is HBCU, HBCUForce, is that, I mean, your full-time business, or are you still into the consulting realm where you do some consulting with companies?
I do both. So I'm the partner and COO at Esor Consulting Group. And then I am the executive director for HBCUForce. And so Marciana is our programs director. And so she runs the day-to-day with HBCUForce. I work more to work with the schools and work with the employers and sponsors that we have. So yes and yes, I do both. And they work together, right? And so the participants that come through the HBCUForce program will, as available, work with Esor as interns or work with us on projects to get experience. And I also work with the students with my team to get participants internships with other companies.
Thank
I
you.
mean, you had a question for me about super badges. So with a super badge or any other project that you may be doing or module, some of them, let me find one. So like this one. Oh, I can't open this one. Let me find one.
Well, I know that Larry was actually trying to do the sys admin. No, it was the business analyst super badge. There was the super badge for business analysts.
Oh, it's not.
And it was trying to make him pay for it.
No, it doesn't make it wasn't asking you to pay for anything. Let me find a project. So I'll show you what you were getting and explain it to you. This one where I need an extra thing. So when you do a hands-on project, sometimes it will say you need to create a new playground. A playground is a test environment. And so sometimes you need to come here and create a playground. But sometimes it does not want you to use the Trailhead test environment, which is called a playground. Sometimes it wants you to sign up for what's called a developer edition org. Those developer orgs, those are like playgrounds or like a sandbox or a test environment, but they're pre-configured with a certain product already installed and data already installed. So some of the specialty or more advanced trails or projects or badges may want you to sign up for a developer org. And if so, there will be a link where you'll sign up and it's a free dev edition. And then you take this org and you connect it to your Trailhead where it says here connect an org. So sometimes it wants you to create what's called a developer org and connect it. For the super badge, it does not ask you to create anything. It asks you to install something, but it doesn't ask you to create anything. So on this super badge, you have to install this unmanaged package into a playground. And so it tells you to create a new playground to do this super badge in. Let me see if I have one that's open. Do you want to share your screen? You can show me?
No, I'm not on there right now, but I definitely you answer my question though. That makes sense. Okay, so yeah, that's exactly what I was getting, and you explained it. What my next steps I need to do instead of. Okay, I understand now. So it's like I'm gonna have to connect some things. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
So
I
yeah,
don't.
it was probably just telling you you needed to create a new playground. So
Yeah.
when you do a super badge, every time you do a super badge, you need to do it in a new playground. Do not use a playground that you've done another exercise in, because if you do, it will fail. So you always do a super badge in a brand new playground. And the good thing about what they've done now with the way that the way that this is set up now is that it allows you to name your playgrounds when you create them. And always name your playground. So you name your playground the super badge that you're doing, or if you're doing a specialty project where it tells you to create one, it will tell you. It will say, don't do this in an existing playground. And that's because whatever steps you're going to be doing, they don't want it to overlap with another trail.
Okay.
And so when you're in here, your hands-on orgs, or if you're at the top of your screen and you go to hands-on orgs, this is where you can see all your different sandboxes. You can rename them, you can delete them. If you haven't logged in a while, it will tell you it's going to delete them. So it's going to delete these, which is fine. It tells you the last time you logged into them, when they were created. Okay.
Yes, thank you. That definitely answered my question.
Okay. Here, certifications, that's where I was telling you about the certifications. Under communities, where you can see the different groups, and then community groups, which is different, is where you can join a local user group. So definitely get familiar with everything that's in here because it's a lot. Any other questions?
Well, this has been very, very informative. I appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, anytime. Anytime.
Well, if there's no other questions, I look forward to hearing from your assistant or program manager about what you're doing this summer. And I will send out the recording to everyone that's here and to the people who signed up for the Lunch and Learn today.
Okay, just send me an email because I'll forget because I'll be in meetings for the rest of the day, and I'll make sure I get that over to Marciana so she can get you the info. No problem.
Thank
It was
you.
nice meeting all of you.
Good to meet you as
No
well.
problem.
Thank you.